Imagine waking up one morning and the ground, well, it just doesn't stop moving. Not one big shake, but this constant trembling day in, day out.
Sounds like a nightmare scenario, doesn't it?
It really does.
Ugh.
But for the people on a tiny Japanese island right now, that's actually their reality.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this place, Akuseki Island. We want to understand what's actually happening, this incredible seismic event, but also, what it tells us about our planet.
And about people, too. How we cope, how we adapt.
Exactly. Resilience.
And our mission today, really, is to cut through some of the noise you might be hearing. Get to the core of what's going on.
Right.
Because this is happening right now. It's July 3rd, 2025 as we record this. It's unfolding.
And live case study.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it really puts a spotlight on some of those geological timelines people talk about. Makes them feel a bit more immediate,
Absolutely. Okay, so let's zoom in. Akuseki Island. Can you even picture it? Over 1,000 earthquakes hitting this one tiny spot.
It's hard to grasp, truly.
It's part of Japan's Tokara Island chain, way south of Kyushu, very remote. And since June 21st, so what, nearly 2 weeks now, the ground's just been constantly dancing. That's the word someone used.
Yeah.
The latest count today is 1,031 quakes. Just,
Yeah.
wow. What does it actually feel like for the people there?
Well, it's what seismologists call a swarm, an intense cluster. And two of the bigger ones, one yesterday and one today, July 3rd, hit magnitude 5.5.
Okay, 5.5, that's noticeable.
Oh, definitely noticeable. Now, the crucial thing, and thankfully, the Japan Meteorological Agency, the JMA, they're clear.
Yeah.
No tsunami risk from this activity.
It's a relief.
A huge relief. But
Yeah.
they are warning about other risks. Things like houses collapsing, landslides,
Yeah.
especially on a small volcanic island like Akuseki.
Right, the ground itself becomes unstable.
Precisely. And that's exactly why the authorities, they urged all 89 residents, think about that, just 89 people,
Wow.
to evacuate. They moved them to the school playground, which is likely a designated safe zone.
The whole community in the playground.
Yeah. It really brings it home, doesn't it? This isn't just a number, 1,031 quakes. It's this tiny community, maybe 700 people, across all 7 inhabited islands in that chain, suddenly facing this constant, unsettling vibration.
And you have to think about the psychological side of that. 89 people living through days of shaking, camped out in a playground, even if the big one hasn't hit, structurally speaking.
Right. Japan's building codes are incredibly robust, world-leading, really. So major collapses might not happen with these moderate quakes.
That's still.
But the mental toll, it's different. It's the constant uncertainty, the low-level adrenaline, never quite relaxing, not knowing if the next tremor is small or maybe bitter.
Like living on edge, constantly.
Exactly. It's a unique kind of stress. People adapt, of course. They find ways, maybe humor, community support, but it must be deeply wearying.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, okay, to really get why this is happening there, we need to pull back, right? Look at the bigger geological picture for Japan.
We absolutely do. Because Japan's location is, well, geologically dramatic, to say the least.
It's not just on a plate boundary.
No, it's right at the messy intersection of 4 major tectonic plates. You've got the Pacific Plate, the Philippine Sea Plate, the Eurasian Plate, and the Okhotsk Plate, all grinding against each other right there.
4 of them. Okay.
Which puts it smack bang in the middle of the Ring of Fire. We hear that term a lot.
Right, the Pacific Ring of Fire.
And it's not just a name. It's this huge horseshoe shape around the Pacific Ocean basin where something like 90% of the world's earthquakes happen.
90%.
And about 75% of the world's active volcanoes, too. So Japan is basically living on this constantly shifting, incredibly energetic geological boundary, like a slow-motion collision zone.
The scale is just mind-boggling when you put numbers on it. About 1,500 earthquakes a year in Japan.
That's the average, yeah. Sometimes more, sometimes a bit less, but consistently high.
And that accounts for, what, almost a fifth of all earthquakes globally?
Around 18%, yes. It's staggering.
So you have 125 million people living in a place responsible for nearly 1 out of every 5 earthquakes on Earth. That must shape everything.
It absolutely does. It's not just news headlines. It's deeply ingrained in the national psyche, in their culture, their architecture, their planning. It has to be.
You see it in their history, too, right? These major events that become turning points.
Exactly. Think back to the 1923 Great Kanto earthquake, magnitude 7.9. Devastating. Around 140,000 lives lost, many in the fires that followed.
A huge tragedy.
And a direct catalyst for much stricter building codes, foundational codes they still build upon today.
Then there was Kobe in 95.
Right, the Great Hanshin earthquake, magnitude 6.9. About 6,400 deaths. That one really highlighted the vulnerabilities of urban infrastructure, even modern infrastructure, led to more retrofitting and planning changes.
And of course, 2011.
Yeah, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. Magnitude 9.0, the scale was just immense. Over 18,500 people dead or missing.
And of course, the Fukushima nuclear disaster triggered by it.
Unforgettable. These events aren't just history lessons. They're living memory that fundamentally shapes Japan's entire approach to disaster management, preparedness, and resilience. It's a constant process of learning from the absolute worst.
So let's get into the science a bit more. We know plates grind, they slip, that causes quakes. Japan's sitting where the Pacific plate dives under the Okhotsk plate, a subduction zone.
Correct. Creates immense pressure buildup over time.
Now, I've heard about things like strange animal behavior before quakes or changes in well water. Is there any solid science behind those kinds of precursors for prediction?
That's a really important point, and the JMA, the official agency, is very, very clear on this.
Okay.
Predicting the precise time, location, and magnitude of an earthquake, it's still beyond our current scientific capabilities. Full stop.
So no reliable prediction method exists?
Not in the way people often think, no.
Okay.
There's ongoing research into potential precursors, absolutely. Fascinating stuff. But are we at a point where we can say an earthquake will hit Tokyo at 3 p.m. next Tuesday? No, definitely not.
And that's relevant now, especially I heard something about a hoax.
Ah, yes, unfortunately. There was this prediction circulating, apparently based on a manga comic, claiming a huge disaster would hit on July 5th, 2025.
Which is just 2 days away from today.
Exactly. So you can imagine, with Akuseki already shaking, that kind of thing fuels public anxiety. But it's crucial to understand the difference between scientific understanding of how quakes work and the current inability to know exactly when they'll strike. Misinformation can be really damaging in these situations.
Which makes preparedness even more critical if you can't predict.
Absolutely. If you can't know the when, you have to be ready for the if whenever it comes.
And it sounds like Japan has poured enormous resources into that readiness. Tell us about those systems, how they work in practice, like on Akuseki.
It's multi-layered. The JMA has this incredible network monitoring seismic activity constantly, 24/7.
Okay.
They can issue early warnings, sometimes just seconds, but crucial seconds, directly to people's phones, on TV, radio.
The alerts we sometimes hear about.
Exactly. Then there's the infrastructure itself. Those strict building codes we mentioned, constantly updated, designing buildings not just to stand, but to sway, to absorb energy.
And the evacuation plans.
Yes. Pre-designated safe zones, clear evacuation routes, regular drills. What happened on Akuseki, moving everyone to the school playground, that wasn't improvised. That's the plan in action. It's practiced. It's systematic. Decades of learning put into practice.
But looking beyond these immediate swarms, there's a bigger shadow, isn't there? The Nankai Trough Megaquake.
Ah, yes. That's the really big one looming in the background for Japan.
And the forecasts for that are pretty specific probability-wise?
Worryingly so. It's not a prediction of a date, but a probability assessment. And the current estimates give it a 75 to 82% chance of happening within the next 30 years.
75 to 82%. That's incredibly high.
It is. And the potential scale. While the government estimates, as of March this year, suggest it could cause up to 298,000 deaths.
Almost 300,000 people.
And the economic impact, estimated around $2 trillion. It's almost unimaginable.
So that must drive preparedness on a whole other level.
It absolutely does. It influences national planning, research funding, infrastructure investment, public awareness campaigns, everything. It's the scenario they constantly plan and drill for, hoping to mitigate the worst when it eventually happens.
It really puts the Akuseki situation into perspective. While incredibly difficult for those 89 residents, it's also a test, maybe, of the systems designed for these much larger potential events.
In a way, yes. And it highlights that ongoing stress, even without a catastrophe. You asked about the psychological toll earlier.
Yeah.
Even when the buildings hold, living under that constant possibility, punctuated by smaller events like Akuseki, it requires immense mental fortitude.
Yeah.
Supporting people's mental health has to be part of preparedness, too.
So it's not just engineering, it's societal, psychological.
Completely. It's about building this collective resilience, understanding the risks, trusting the systems, supporting each other. It's this blend of technology, planning, and, frankly, a deeply ingrained cultural adaptation to living on shaky ground. They keep learning, keep refining, because they know nature always holds surprises.
So wrapping up our deep dive today on Akuseki, what's the main takeaway for you when you look at this island shaking non-stop?
For me, it's a really stark reminder of the planet's raw power, its unpredictability,
Yeah.
But equally, maybe even more powerfully, it showcases that human capacity to face it, to adapt, to prepare, to carry on with life, even when the ground beneath you is literally unstable. That resilience is incredible.
It really is.
And maybe a final thought for you, listening. When you see how a society like Japan coexists with this constant seismic threat, turning potential paralysis into proactive preparedness, what does that tell us? What does it say about how we balance what science can tell us with the need for societal readiness and just that sheer stubborn human spirit when facing the things we can't fully predict or control? How do we navigate a world where some of nature's biggest forces remain, ultimately, a mystery?